I'll go ahead and call the April 20th, 2026 Finance Committee meeting to order at 6:31. Councilman Bullock isn't here, but he's on the committee. I'm sure he's walking in right now. So there he is. We have a full committee, which is good, and I'll give him a moment to come out to the dais. Feels like a long time. I was on spring break, and then we didn't have council last week, so I think this is the latest in a month I've ever stepped on the dais for city council, so it's the 20th. It's interesting. But we're back to work. Okay, first order of business is to review and approve the March 23rd, 2026 Finance Committee meeting minutes. Without objection, they are approved. Great. And then we have a couple ordinances on our docket this evening that we'd like to talk through. The first two, I think we can kind of take them in order, and it's a little out of the typical course, so interested in discussion with the finance director on the record about the reason for that. But there are our typical transfer advances ordinance. So the first one is ordinance number 22-2026, which is, I believe, the second quarter transfer and advances ordinance, and then ordinance 23-2026. Which is the third quarter transfer advance ordinance, which, if I remember correctly, typically comes later in the year. So first things first, just going over these, I think they're the same as they always are every year. And then the real meat is in the fourth quarter transfer and advances ordinance, when kind of the numbers are really trued up for the end of the year, and then we kind of settle the books. But Director Mahoney, can you speak as to why you've put them both on the docket at the same time?
Basically, just to be more efficient. So the first quarter ordinance always is a little different because we'll do advance repayments to whatever funds that we might have needed to advance money to at the end of the prior year. And like you said, the fourth quarter is different because of that same reason. We're not quite sure at the end of the year if any funds need a little help going into, going into the end of the year, or if there's the ability to perhaps move some money, if the coffers have a little extra to reserve some. But the second and third are just 1/4 of the budgeted transfers. Historically, they have presented just the second quarter and then come back a couple months later to do the third quarter. And since they're identical and it's kind of just something we just always do, I thought it might just be a little more efficient to do 2 and 3 together.
So the question I have is does this affect cash flow, or is this just you have approval so those transfers happen? I guess
the second. Yeah. So we will just hold the third quarter until the third quarter happens and then do the transfer in the third quarter.
Okay. Any comments or questions from committee members? Councilperson Strubig.
Thank you. Could you just give a little more detail on the transfer out and the transfer ins, where this is coming from? And I'm looking at the special revenue funds and where that money is coming from for Winterhurst and the Office on Aging. Is that the county there, or just a little more detail on that? Thank you.
So especially those two funds, they can't survive without help from the general fund. So you'll see $325,000 transfer out of the general fund, and that's to support Fund 250, the aging for $225,000, and then Winterhurst for $100,000. So those funds don't bring in enough money on their own to support themselves. So general fund needs to help them out.
Thank you.
And I'm just procedurally thinking through as a committee kind of what that means. I mean, do we keep the third quarter one in here and then pop it off later, or do we approve it now? I mean, Director Vargo, does it matter from the law department standpoint? Sorry to catch you off guard.
No, I'm going to make a terrible admission, Mr. Chair. I wasn't paying attention to that issue. I apologize if you want to.
Yeah, so basically typically there's a second quarter transfers and advances ordinance that as Director Mahoney explained, the first quarter is a lot of refilling the buckets from the end of the year from, like, for example, federal funds that are always late. Second and third quarter are typically just a quarter of the budget where we transfer. The fourth quarter is then where the real work is in these ordinances. Director Mahoney, I think, saved herself some drafting by putting them in the same time because they're basically identical except one says third quarter and one says second quarter, and the ordinance numbers are different. So I'm just trying to understand if there's like a legal reason why we may want to hold the third quarter in committee and then pass it out, but just because it's something we haven't done before.
I can't think of a reason, Mr. Chair. I certainly defer to the judgment of the finance director on the efficiency of it, and I don't perceive any legal issue with it.
Okay.
And Chairman, I was just thinking if we didn't have anything else for the third quarter, just to need to have a finance committee just for a transfer ordinance, save everyone a little time.
I guess then it begs the question, if we just had one and it transferred double these amounts, would that not do that?
We could authorize that. Maybe, I mean, I can either change the ordinances for this year or consider that for next year. I did think about that, but I didn't want to put too much change at once. And I know council's used to 4 separate ordinances, so.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Councilman Bullock.
So thank you for the discussion and for the eye towards innovation, Director Mahoney, or improvement of our regular process. You know, the obvious point would be that that's a quarterly opportunity to track and follow and oversee how expenditures are actually going. So what we're talking about is following the budget. The budget's forecast. One thing we don't do, or we haven't done routinely anyway, is to go through the actuals. I know that the department does provide written summaries, I think on a monthly basis, of year-to-date spending. There's some good information there. You know, one option would be at whatever appropriate time we evaluate, or we just review together in committee for the public record how the actuals are going at the given date of that potential finance committee hearing. Because there's information that's useful there. Sometimes it's just a timing matter. For example, if a road pavement project is happening a month ahead of time or a month later due to scheduling of a contracting, but there's other, you know, maybe more impactful news, like have we filled all of our positions earlier or later? You know, and that has a impact on salaries and benefits expenditures. So, you know, I guess my thought would be, rather than pre-approve the transfers and then not talk again until we're looking at the fourth quarter, which would go into the year-end appropriations update, and often those year-end appropriations updates move around money in quite significant amounts, that we use the mid-year. You know, we could do it late June or early July, and say, okay, how are the expenditures and revenue collections to date looking compared to what our budget has said, and then consider a third quarter transfer ordinance. It's longer. I started for being long-winded.
No, I think your point is well taken, and I think what you're getting at is that the fourth quarter one is the most meaningful one, and we often see it, and then we're in the middle of budget, but it's probably forecasted or understood, at least with reasonable certainty, before it hits the docket in December or November. And so you're raising up a bigger point, which I think I'm ready to vote these out of committee, one person, and get this moving. But what I think might be nice from the finance department is if there's a communication. Now, when do you start to see through the forest as to what those fourth quarter amounts are going to be? Is this a June issue, July, August, September, October?
November, probably, or December even, because we don't know, like you had said, the federal funds, we're never quite sure. Maybe they'll come in December, or maybe they won't. So it's a pretty late in the year judgment as to how much those advances or transfers need to be.
Because I think what Councilman Bullock is talking about, and this is where, you know, I owe the council president some discussion about the budget. I know you guys, I mean, we're in April, you know, for Christ's sake, we're probably already talking budget, which I think is accurate, right? You guys are probably going to start meeting in June, July with department heads?
With the new finance system, more like July, August.
Okay, because I guess what I'm forecast, or what I'm telegraphing is that you may see a communication that I work with you on, because I think revenues are going to be an important part of that, right? And where our spend is, as Councilman Bullock said, positions management is a way to save money, whether that's good or bad, and then also where money comes in. We do get those, I think it's now not every month, but every quarter we get an email from the finance department that, I think from Assistant Director Eddie, that lays out kind of where we're at. When we get one of those, I think it might make sense to then trigger communication to the docket to then talk about that in committee so that we understand what it's looking like. I remember we were going through the budget last year, and this is just, it was a good thing. I think it was like $8 or $9 million went back into the general fund from the budget, which kudos to the administration for managing the funds. Yeah, and we kind of made some calls about whether it goes into debt service or goes back in the general fund. So those are all good things. I just think the visibility on council kind of before we see the budget book as opposed to after, I think would be good. So does that sound good to everyone as far as the process?
Mr. Chair, I'm a fan of efficiencies, and I appreciate that you saw 2 duplicates here. That seems logical to me to just knock them out while we can. I also think I hear my colleagues saying that by doing that with the second one, by going ahead and doing that now, is that we don't see that and it doesn't trigger a conversation later. So I am in agreement with that. I think that, well, again, Director Mahoney, I appreciate that they're both the same. I think that having one at a later time allows us to then dive into what the matters are of the moment. Thank you.
Yeah, I think what we can do, and this is where, so Director Mahoney, you guys prepare quarterly reports to us on revenue and expenses percentage of budgets. I think the half-year report typically comes out in July.
Actually, it's every month except January and February because it's so early in the year. Those reports really aren't, you know, the budgets are obviously, if you go over budget in January, February, you're in real trouble. So Director Eddie starts those in March, and then it's every month.
Okay, but then she does, there's like there used to be an analysis every month, but now it's an analysis quarterly. Something went from monthly to quarterly recently. And I remember emailing with Assistant Director Eddie about it.
Okay, I'm only aware of the monthly. I only look at the monthly reports.
Okay, so I think what I propose to do in consultation with the clerk's office as well is after August recess, the first meeting in September, to have a communication to the docket that takes in our finances through August, and then we refer it to committee to talk about where we're at in the budget year, what revenues look like for next year, what collections look like for this year, and then that will kind of, you know, because usually the budget book hits, I think, in November. So we kind of get a precursor to that. Now, that's going to be, I think we should start thinking about our priorities and coordinating with the administration in May and June. But, you know, you don't know how big the pie is unless you know what the revenue is, and so that's going to determine a lot of things. So would that be something that the Finance Department would be willing to do if we referred it in September? Mm-hmm. Okay. Sure. Council President Keppel.
Thank you. Just this, in the context of the greater conversation, you guys will be, council members will be getting an email from me shortly with scheduling dates for council budget retreat, looking more in the May and June timeframe. We talked with Director Mahoney about talking with the Finance Department sooner about council budget priorities. So as part of that broader conversation about those priorities, and then once we So the finance department be more aware of those as we go in, and then as the conversation about those transfers and the revenues and those sorts of things, and that can be part of that conversation too. So, so this is all working out nicely.
Thank you. And I guess in line with that, then I will make a motion to refer favorably ordinances. Well, first I'll do ordinance 2022-2026 to council for approval.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. So approved. I will also make a motion to favorably refer to full council for approval ordinance 2023-2026. Motion made, second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we're on the next batch of ordinances and resolutions, which is, I think they're together largely. Resolution 2026-21, Resolution 2026-22, and Resolution 2026-23. Can you walk us through those, Director Mahoney?
Sure. So actually we can get rid of one. I just recently learned that the county will no longer be submitting advances to the city. Historically, they
What's
have.
with that?
What's that?
What is with that?
They're trying to cite some state law change. They just don't want to do it probably. So rather than, we used to get some of our property tax in January and February, so just maybe 60 days before we would have received it otherwise if we pass this ordinance. And then likewise, the August collection, we would get some in July and then the true up in August. So, and they just sent another, just before this meeting, because a couple school districts were complaining that how are they going to do their cash flow, but they don't look like they're going to change their minds about these advances. So we can probably strike, is it 2026-22?
Councilman Bullock.
Thanks, Director Mahoney. Just to interject here while we're at it, just closed the wrong window here. Is your inference from the county, is that an administrative change just to save time and efficiency, or is that a cash flow bottleneck they face, or is it an expense to the county to do it that way because when you transfer money earlier, it's more favorable to the recipient, right? So I don't know if you're...
Sure, they just sent this at 6:15.
Okay. I'm mostly just curious myself.
Yeah, sure. And I'd be happy to send this to council after. They're citing, well, that it says last year Cuyahoga County did not receive certified values until December 24th, so that's a quick turnaround for them to get then advances out to all the cities and schools. And then they cite 5 Ohio House bills enacted last year. Expand authority for budget commissions to reduce unnecessary voter, I don't know how that affects advances. Oh, because the new laws require additional calculations, review steps, and coordination, they'll add processing time. And then they did a survey where they found 15 counties provide advances only upon special request. 9 counties limit special request advances solely to schools and townships. So I think they're saying with the added calculations because of the new House bills and that other counties don't give advances, that they're going to stop giving advances.
And is that permanent or just for this year?
I'm assuming it'll be permanently.
They don't say it, though.
No.
Yes, and in my other hat, working for an entity that derives 60 to 70% of its income from property taxes, this is the new way the county is going to be doing things. And in particular, now, Director Mahoney, is our cash flow in a state where that's okay for us?
We'll be okay.
For school districts and other special districts, such as park districts, it's going to be a big deal to not have a lot of money early in the year. And so it's going to be a cash flow issue. Talk to your county council people about this and see if this is maybe can be a one-year thing and then it doesn't continue on. Because I don't think there's any new law that requires them to do this. What they're saying is convenience, basically.
Right. That it takes them longer to calculate things, and so they can't get the calculations out and prepare the advances.
Now, what I will, in relation to this discussion, Director Mahoney, one thing I will ask you is, since it seems like there may be a deluge of complaints against the county from entities that get money this way, would it behoove us to pass this?
I did think about that. I mean, it wouldn't hurt, I guess, to pass, and if they don't take it, they don't take it. But at least that's council saying, you have a point there, that we still want the advances.
So which resolution is that deals with the, is it 20?
That is 22, I believe.
22?
I lost where I was.
Okay. Well, I hope they change their mind for school districts and other special districts.
Yeah.
Well, that's helpful. Thank you, Director Mahoney. And then going through the resolutions, I guess we'll start with 26, 2021, the relevant chart being on page 9 of the agenda.
Sure.
Is there any way we can get that up on the screen? Because this, I think, is the chart that really explains. Is there any way we can get the agenda? Because it's page 9 of the agenda. And I just think it's important because we can go through each line item and explain what each one of them is and when they were voted. It'll be in Finance Committee agendas. It's our website as we, if you go to calendar, you can find it. That's probably the easiest way. And you go to today, it'll be Finance Committee. You click on it. And then there's an agenda link. You go to the 20th. It takes a minute to open up for some reason. And there's the agenda.
Mr. Chair, this makes
Hyperlink
for
right there.
great radio here.
Yes, I know. I apologize. But I think this chart is that important. You click on it's the agenda. It's hyperlinked.
There you
Yes.
go.
And then page 9. Trying to fill the time. I'm bad at this. Try to be concise. One more down. Yes, here we go. Okay, Director Mahoney, can you walk us through this chart and explain it to us?
Sure. So, and actually, when we go to calculate this, we also do a rough estimate, and that's on the next 2 pages of revenue and expenses. What the purpose of this is to show that the county that we need the property tax for the following year. So we start with an estimate of how much we think we're going to end the year, and then generally increase the revenues between 2% and 4%, and we increase the expenditures between 2% and 4%. As a reminder, the labor contracts all have a 3% increase in them. So depending on the various expenses, like I said, it's between a 2% and 4%. Salaries being the most, of course, that's the 3% increase. So we start with a general guess of revenue and expenditures, and then we also take what the county tells us for 26, which was just about 1,480,000 and change. We have a 96.5 collection rate. So if we divide that 1,480,000, that's how we get that 15,148,430. for general fund for that first line. That is, that represents, that was a levy passed in 1948 by the voters to fund the general fund. And then we do likewise with the fire and police and sewer funds. Those were all levies passed by the voters, 1958 and 59 respectively. And then the inside millage, we always have historically put it to debt service, to pay our debt service. And as a reminder, that's 10 mils maximum between the city, the school, and the county, and Metro Parks and all those. So that's where we start with those numbers. And then, I don't know. I guess, what questions can I answer?
Yeah, and then so for the benefit of people that may watch this video later, may be watching it now, and also for my colleagues, if you'll remember, the county has a 3-year cycle where they reevaluate properties, but then the sextennial, which is every 6 years, they do a really full reappraisal. So the mid-year 3 appraisal is a slight update, whereas the 6-year requires a more rigorous review of properties and values. We recently had that in calendar year 25, which then affected valuations for, I believe it's 25, 20, or 26, 27, and 28.
25, 26, and 27.
25, 26, and 27. Mm-hmm. So this same, roughly $30 million in millage in the 17.4 will be the same, if not a little less, on the residents for tax year 2027, because we're still within that 3-year window. And the overall valuation of Lakewood is within that 3-year window. And the only thing that might have happened is actually people may have filed complaints against their valuation, and it may have slightly gone down. So for example, when I looked at this ordinance from last year, the estimated amount for general fund was like 15.5 as opposed to 15.14. What that tells you is that the valuation of Lakewood, because people got their update, didn't like it, filed a complaint with the county, maybe the valuation went down a little. But the next time, right, so after 27 and into 28, there will be a midterm update where the valuations might change. It might go up, might go down. I suspect they would go up, but who knows? But it would be a slighter update than the 6-year one. So right now, what this effectively means for our residents and our property owners here is that roughly what they paid the city last year in taxes is the same they're going to pay the city in taxes this year. That's what this authorizing resolution would do. Now, there is some discussion about going forward, if there's a bigger uptick, are there ways in which we can, in a year or in 4 years, is there a way in which we can think about being thoughtful about how these go up, right? You can do some sliding, right, where you only, say in the first year of the new big update, say property values went up 50% or something crazy. We could talk about with the administration and the public about only taking a portion and then kind of ticking it up over the year, so it's more of a graduated thing than it is a 1-year hit on the residents. Now, for purposes of this resolution, the more I've dug into it, it's essentially the same as last year. Your property tax bill is going to look the same, depending on what the schools do with their levy in May, but that would be in, it would go on a calendar year 2027 as well. So I'm prepared to, hear from my colleagues on this, but also as I dug into it, what it revealed to me was this is the same as it was last year. Any other comments or discussions? I assume we'll have some. Councilman Bullock.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So from a couple quick questions. First, do you know, Director Mahoney, do you know the date of the inside millage? Is that even older than the 1948 first voted?
I'm not, that was years and years ago, the state. That was unvoted inside millage. I could find out, but.
Yeah, I'd be curious. I suspect it is older than that, but it's possible it's more recent if some county
No, I don't.
procedure change, right?
don't
So,
think
so in other words, we've held continuous in a good way, I think, for a long time. Now, what's different is we've experienced high property value increases, and we're hearing certainly that a certain number of Lakewood residents feel the affordability pressure of all those costs. So kind of it's on my mind to see if we can be strategic in our budgeting and understand, could there be ways to save? Could there be ways to assess our fund balances and our ability to invest in capital in a way that it says that we're not just on autopilot at all times to collect everything that we are entitled to under these traditional levels. That's a big question, and I don't have a proposal today, but I guess I'd like to understand whether we're evaluating those questions as we prepare next year's budget. And this kind of dovetails on what we said. If we're tracking the actuals as we work through budget year 2026 and we look at our actual incurred expenses, our actual collected revenues, if we're positioned to be in financial strength, then rather than only look at the traditional expenditures, can we make some room or financial capacity to help some residents who are under financial pressure? And this set of ordinances is the one time that we've got on the revenue side to shape what we do. The council chairs or the finance chairs points about the calendar for property tax is well taken, because we're in the middle of, I think, the first 3-year period after a full assessment, and then we're going to do, before we know it, a mid, or 3-year estimate, which typically has a lesser impact, but still could well have an impact. So, so I'm not very concise today. Maybe Director Mahoney, if I pull together some questions around the big picture, the macro, and we're just talking revenue side here today. Of course, any budget exercise has to compare revenues to expenditures. We're not getting expenditures right now, but as our revenue side's improved, can or should we evaluate our revenue side while we also manage the expenditure side? Another follow-on question would be, is it the administration's view that all of our revenue increases have been consumed by inflation, or do we think that's only part ways true, and in other areas we're gaining ground in terms of financial strength and capacity? I have some educated inferences I can make from our budget work last year, but I wouldn't want to assume that I'm fully reading things accurately. And I know also we're trying to get ahead on the wastewater treatment plant work and the wastewater sewer system work, which is a big expense too. So that's not very concise at all, but do you understand kind of the questions I'm beginning to try to get my hands around?
Sure. So I can show you from my point of view is, yes, the first year of a 3-year increase, the city usually does have a little bit extra resources, and that was one of the end of the year transfers last year. We transferred, I can't remember now, somewhere around $1 million. I believe, to capital, so we can start to try and not debt out so much, because the city is paying a lot in interest expense, because the historical trend of the city was to debt most of its capital. So we were able to consider for this year not taking some debt out for some projects and vehicles. The second year is kind of the mid of this 3-year cycle, and I would expect and hope that we will have, again, some reserves from this increase this year. But then the third year, and you think about it, yes, there was an increase in that first year, but our expenses keep going up every year. And they're, for 3 years, it's flat for the city. So obviously that revenue over expenditures is quite less in year 3 than it was in year 1. And actually, the expenditures are shown. Again, it's a very rough estimate, starting on page 10 of the agenda. And even with the estimates, you can see that in general fund and with this estimate in property tax, we are estimating that the general fund balance could go down quite significantly at the end of 27. And again, these are rough estimates, so the purpose of this is to prove to the county that we need these property taxes. I do know of one jurisdiction where the county treasurer questioned whether they needed the property taxes. So that's what the county does with this information. They go through and look and see if what we're asking in property tax revenue is justified. And I believe they will have no problems looking at this saying, yes, City of Lakewood needs these property taxes.
Yes, and to your point, Director Mahoney, some of the newly approved laws allow the Budget Commission to actually axe it. And there were some issues in Medina County where they proposed that and then went back and didn't do it, but they're probably going to do it in the following years. So it's very concerning. Now, the one thing I will say, just like from a high level, is, as we think about these things in the future, we could say, okay, this year there was a big jump, so we're gonna level off that increase. That levels it off for everyone, the richest among us and the poorest among us. There's also more creative ways, and so I guess what I'm saying is I'm prepared to pass this tonight favorably to council, one vote. But as we think about the years to come, there's another way where you can work with the administration to think about, okay, dedicating certain portions of that additional revenue for seniors on a fixed income, or other classifications that would be easy administratively for the administration to say, okay, you get this exemption from the state, so we don't have to verify any more paperwork. You also get a double exemption from the city or something like that. That's something we can do creatively as we think about how to handle some of these issues going forward. That's just a suggestion. Any other thoughts from my colleagues or other people on this? Councilman Bixenstein?
Thank you, Chair Baker. And this might be in a pretty similar vein as Councilperson Bullock, but as someone who's relatively new to this process, I'm learning about this terminology and particularly about inside millage. And I was just wondering, obviously, a very important revenue funding stream, but also, as Councilperson Bullock brought up, people are feeling the pinch of property taxes. And I was just wondering, is there any precedent in Lakewood for not taking the full, the maximum, the 10 mil maximum for inside millage?
There has been no precedent before that I know of, and I did share with the chair and I had done this, and it might have been before you were on council, a little property tax overview, and I'd be happy to share it with everyone.
You could pull it up, clerk. I think it's just in the one of the other documents.
And if you could just go to the second page, please. Yeah, just scroll down a little bit more. Oh, right there. So see, there's the inside millage where the county takes 1.45, the Metro Parks takes 0.05, the schools is 5.03, and the city is 3.47. If we gave up some of our inside millage, I'm not sure how it would work, but could the schools or the Metro Parks or the county take more of it? So I would hate to give it up, that somebody else would just take it, you know?
Director Moore, I do think the question is broader, though, and not just necessarily the inside millage, but also the other voted on charter stuff, which also is, it's kind of has superpowers like inside millage in the sense that it's not subject to House Bill 920,
Right.
the rollbacks.
So, yes, council could vote to not take some of the millage, but then council also has to tell me what expenses not to do, you know? So, you know, I think I did a rough estimate, like 0.5 mils to the general fund is just about $1 million. So what would I then cut $1 million worth? So that has to go hand in hand.
Yes, Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Director Mahoney. I appreciate the clarification.
Sorry, Councilman, were you done? Okay, so it's good discussion. Of course, Director Mahoney, we don't just collect $1 and it's out the door. So if we reduce revenues by $1, we're not instantly triggering a cut of an employee or an expenditure. We have various accounts and reserves right now. The goal is not to erode financial strength at all. But I think it's been a helpful discussion to at least begin to put on the table, for the first time that I've been around, the idea of prioritizing affordability for residents. And my, you know, my hunch is that the reason for that is that we haven't had this financial strength until the last 6 years or 8 years, depending on how you measure. And that's really accelerated post-COVID and the most recent property reevaluation. It was starting prior to that, thanks to the good work of Lakewood Live and the Lakewood Building Department and a bunch of people, right? Lakewood Public Works, Lakewood Police. The whole town has been really just investing all its energy and creativity into making this place sing, and people are responding. So that's a recent thing, and we were recovering from a financial hole, and that it was actually a multiple financial holes, some local, some state, some nationally economic. And then for a while we were kind of financially holding water and trying to improve through staffing productivity and staffing efficiencies. And we had years where the 3-year contract was 001 or on that order. And the HR gain was that we were not reducing headcount and we were maintaining benefits, and those all mattered too. But now we're in a different world. So I think that's where that comes from. And then, of course, we're hearing from our partner local government that they're in need of an increase. So that's at least on my mind. I'm not trying to speak for others. But to your point, Director Mahoney, like, tread carefully because there's big impacts here. And I certainly don't claim to start out understanding all the complexities, which is why I'm just asking questions now. And I think I would appreciate if you know, I'd be happy to support motions to recommend adoption of these tax budget documents to council. What council's doing, I think, is authorizing the finance director to engage with the county fiscal officer, and the county is the one that makes final decisions, and then traffic cops and collects and then disperses the actual tax dollars. So we have to talk to them using their process, and that's appropriate. And thank you for bringing this to the table. But I do find it helpful, given that I think in the last several years we're in new territory, at least in terms of the resident affordability side of things, to begin thinking about potential solutions there. At least that's one person's, one councilman's opinion. By the way, if anybody recalls, last fall we had a visiting speaker or two from about state tax policy, and the short version is that the state really doesn't give local governments a lot of options for targeting this kind of relief. There could be better tools, and some are advocating for that. Heavens only knows if we're going to get any tax reform at the state level. But the idea would be, if you have some residents in need, could the city be responsive to targeting those residents in need? Right now, the answer is only very perfectly, although I think Councilman Baker has some ideas that are pretty creative on the city collects and have direct expenditure assistance.
Yeah, I don't often quote the former mayor of Cleveland, Frank Jackson, but he always said, the cavalry's not coming. So the state of Ohio is not going to come and save us. We have to save ourselves. So to your point, though, so I think my general thought is that we collect and then think in the budget process about creative ways to provide relief to people who need it in ways that wouldn't be overly administratively burdensome. Now, that's going to be part of the budget process, so let's think about that. Any other thoughts or comments? At this point, I will go ahead and make a motion to favorably refer Resolution 2026-21 to full council for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'll go ahead and make a motion to favorably refer Resolution 22-2026 to full council for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I will go ahead and make a motion to favorably refer Resolution 23-2026 to full council for approval.
Second.
Motion made, second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No further business come before the Finance Committee. We are hereby adjourned, and I think we have 12 minutes of the full council meeting. Thank you.
All right, we will call to order the meeting of council. If you're able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Now pause for a moment of silence. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Bixenstein,
Here.
Councilmember Bullock,
Here.
Councilmember Evans,
Here.
President Keppel,
Here.
Councilmember Hamilton Steiner, not present, Councilmember Streebig,
Here.
Vice President Baker.
Here.
I'm going to, Councilmember Hamilton Steiner is currently at the school board meeting for her daughter's recognition, so I'm going to move to, she'll be here, but I'm going to move to excuse the tardiness of Councilmember Steiner.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes. Do the minute.
Reading and disposal of the minutes of the regular meeting of council held April 6, 2026.
Move to approve without the necessity of a reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes. Okay, so without, I know we have a lot of folks here for public comment. We also have a lot of folks here for, we have 4 resolutions that a lot of folks are here for. So without objection, I'm going to move items 8 through 16 to the top. That'll be those resolutions. And then after that, we'll make some space for additional public comment related to handball. All right, so let's go ahead and do that.
Item 8, communication from Councilmember Streebig regarding Lesbian Visibility Week.
Councilmember Streebig.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, Lesbian Visibility Week is an international celebration and recognition of women and non-binary people who continue to build upon a shared legacy of sisterhood for future generations. It is crucial that we take this opportunity to uplift these women in our community and beyond. We must use one of our most powerful assets, our attention, to shine some of our light on them. We must demonstrate that even as many LGBTQIA+ people feel pushed into the shadows, we still see them, we still value them, and we will not let their lights be dimmed. Today, we turn our attention to one of the brightest lights in our community, Jean Cosmic. While some trailblazers are meant for the spotlight, others work tirelessly behind the scenes. They allow themselves to be visible in their workplace, in their communities, and in their daily acts of service, all while refusing to hide or sideline their identities. They set an example of a life full of connection, community, and action. Jean Cosmic is one example of this type of trailblazer. A Lakewood resident for 33 years, Jean has always contributed her skills and talents to area organizations, from coaching travel soccer to serving as treasurer for the Lakewood Arts Festival. She and her wife, Nikki, raised their 2 daughters here, and Jean continues to enjoy Lakewood's many festivals and events, as well as running, reading, and protesting injustice. Notably, she spent 24 years working at the independent printing collective, Orange Blossom Press, which played a crucial role in local progressive media for many years. A tireless advocate for social justice, Jean has deep roots in the Cleveland area. For much of her life, she has volunteered her time and energy to the unhoused members of our community, who are so often overlooked and underserved. Through St. Malachi Parish, she volunteered for the Backdoor Ministry, which serves free bagged lunches and prepares hot meals for their Monday night meals program, which continues to serve hundreds of guests a home-cooked dinner every Monday evening, all made possible by volunteers like Jean. At the Catholic Worker storefront, she has helped coordinate free Sunday meals through the Urban Hope community and can still be found there Sunday evenings assisting guests with housing. Jean has worked at Eden, an organization that supports people with housing, rental assistance, shelter access, and homeless prevention. And at the Matoya Project, a grassroots seasonal homeless shelter. In case that wasn't enough for a lifetime of service, for the past 5.5 years, Jean has worked on street outreach for the Northeast Ohio Coalition for the Homeless. When asked what she enjoys about her current work as a street outreach worker, she stated, "I've been blessed by the many wonderful relationships that I've developed with our unhoused neighbors living on the streets." Her work is a demonstration of service to others. Her dedicated civic involvement exemplifies her place as part of the fabric of life in our community, and her life is a demonstration of courage, conviction, and purpose. What an incredible person, and what an honor it is to recognize her today as part of Lesbian Visibility Week. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'll first move to receive and file that communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 9, Resolution 2026-24, a resolution to designate April 20th through April 26, 2026 as Lesbian Visibility Week in the city of Lakewood and to highlight the life and work of Lakewood resident and proud lesbian Jean Kosmak.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. I'll just say, too, because we do have, I think, 4 resolutions that we have ceremonial copies of for different events, including Jean's, basketball, the Arab American Heritage, and housing. So we're going to do all 4 of those, assuming they all pass. Then we'll come down and do pictures all together. So just procedurally, we'll get through all of them, come down one time, and do pictures all together. Okay, so, and I just want to also comment that it's been my privilege to know Jean personally and see her great work. It's not easy also to be the spouse of an elected official, as many of our spouses would attest. So it's particularly notable to be doing that and be very visible as a member of the LGBT community. And so it's really remarkable, and it's and brave, and has been brave for many years. And it's important for our community to see leaders, whether they're more in the shadows like Jean, but doing the good work in our community every day. So thank you, Jean, for everything that you've done and being part of our community. Any further? Oh, thank you. Yep. I know. And she's hiding in the back, too, which is so any further discussion? Councilman Bullock.
Thanks, Madam President. And Councilwoman Striebeck, very well said, very eloquently put. And I also agree it's an excellent choice because Jean is a unassuming and very hardworking and cordial person who's been doing all kinds of important work for society and for our communities for years. So happy to join in celebrating Jean's service. And I can also vouch, I do see Jean running out all the time, quite early in the morning sometimes. So talk about an energy of every type, dynamo of a person. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilmember Striebeck.
Thank you. Just one additional point on this resolution. We are also extending for 1 year the honorary designation of Bell Avenue as Nikki Antonio Way, after conversations with Councilmember Evans, who splits Bell Avenue with me between Ward 3 and Ward 2, and 0 complaints about this. We have decided to extend this for another year. Thank you.
All right, so if there's no further discussion, we have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 10, communication from President Keppel regarding Arab American Heritage Month.
Dear colleagues, I am pleased to introduce the following resolution to continue our tradition of recognizing and celebrating Arab American History Month in Lakewood. As tensions continue to escalate in the Middle East, it feels important to pause and acknowledge the impact of the ongoing conflicts on our community members who have familial, cultural, and religious ties to the region. We hope that by taking a moment to celebrate the numerous contributions of the Arab American community in our city and our nation, we can help to foster a shared sense of humanity and a renewed appreciation for diversity. In Lakewood, we will continue to work towards building a community that values and respects the rich tapestry of cultures that have shaped our identity. The Arab American members of our community have contributed significantly to the cultural, social, and economic fabric of our city. From business owners to educators, artists to public servants, their contributions are as varied as they are valuable, enriching our collective experience. Please join me in supporting the following resolution. I'll move to receive and file that communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Councilmember Striebeck?
Thank you. Thank you, President Keppel. I'm happy to recognize April as Arab American Heritage Month. When we recognize the rich diversity of Lakewood residents and honor our differences, we continue to strengthen our community by bringing lived experience and awareness to the conversations and decisions. To my Arab American neighbors, thank you for being an important part of our Lakewood community and Lakewood family. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Any further discussion? Oh, Councilmember Bixenstein.
Thank you, Madam President. I did just a little bit of research and found out that Lakewood has the sixth largest population of Arab Americans in the state. There's more Arab Americans in Lakewood than there are in the city of Cincinnati, for instance. And of course, in Birdtown neighborhood has the highest concentration of any neighborhood in Lakewood. And so I really am happy that we are taking this time to celebrate the rich culture, history, and contributions of our Arab American population, and also challenge any existing stereotypes that are out there. So thank you for doing this as a way to really just encourage and celebrate inclusivity.
Thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, on the motion to receive and file the communication, all those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 11, Resolution 2026-25, a resolution to join with states, municipalities, and other jurisdictions around the country to designate April 2026 as Arab American Heritage Month in the city of Lakewood by celebrating the Arab American culture and paying tribute to the contributions of Arab Americans.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. And I see we have Pierre Benjani from Cameo and a few members of the public. Pierre, would you like to come up and say a few words? Oh, if you push the button there so it turns green, then everybody at home can hear you.
Okay. Just have, I want to be here. I'm president of Cameo, the Cleveland American Middle East organization. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for celebrating this important message every year. And I want to thank the whole council, and especially you, the council president, for always remembering and always acknowledging this important message. Thank you so much, and we appreciate you. As the Arabic community is a big part of this community, you, Lakewood, is a big part of us also. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Pierre. Did anyone else want to speak on this resolution? I didn't see anyone else signed in on this one. Okay. Any further discussion from council? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second to adopt. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 12, communication from council members Keppel, Steiner, and Evans regarding Fair Housing Month.
Dear colleagues, on April 11th, 1968, the Fair Housing Act was signed into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson. This April, we observe Fair Housing Month not only to commemorate that act, but but to call attention to the ongoing necessity of anti-discrimination legislation and the continued fight for housing equity. Following years of half measures and delays of federal action on housing discrimination, the signing of the Civil Rights Act of 1968 and the Fair Housing Act marked a pivotal moment in the fight for civil rights. For the first time, it provided legal protections against the entrenched practices of housing discrimination that had deliberately held back Black Americans from one of the most crucial keys to wealth accumulation and quality of life in America, home ownership. Since the passage of the Fair Housing Act, housing discrimination has persisted and evolved, remaining a massive and complex issue that continues to shape our community. It's still too easy to view segregation as a natural feature of American cities, perhaps rising out of the natural desires of our community members, rather than as a reflection of the long history of structural housing discrimination and the profiteering of the private sector that drive the modern housing market. Today, as first-time home ownership often feels more out of reach than ever, and many renters struggle to find long-term affordable housing, the Fair Housing Act remains an urgent and necessary piece of legislation and a crucial piece of the continued fight for the civil rights of Black Americans. This month, we are compelled to look closely at our own community and examine what equal access to housing looks like here in Lakewood, to reflect on how far we've come and to confront the work that still must be done. I will move to receive and file that communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion. Councilmember Evans, first I'll give you a second to settle in. Councilwoman Hamilton-Steiner. Councilmember Evans.
Thank you, President Keppel. As the communication said, a big part of fair housing is affordable housing, and that's something all of us on council take very seriously, and it's an issue that's affecting more and more folks in Lakewood specifically. So this month we are beginning to take a closer look at this issue through council, which you'll hear about momentarily. So I'm happy to co-sponsor this bill and bring this issue to light and work together as a community to find solutions to this problem. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hamilton-Steiner.
Thank you, President Keppel, and thank you, Councilman Evans, for your communication and beginning to look at this issue. I want you to imagine, in 1949, you are a Black man that fought valiantly in World War II and was looking to purchase a home with the assistance of the federal government through the GI Bill. Imagine that you found a home in a perfect suburb, somewhere you wanted to plant your roots and grow your family, except for one little problem. You were the wrong skin color. This happened to a gentleman by the name of Eugene Burnett and happened to 1.2 million Black veterans. The GI Bill helped to grow the white middle class and made home ownership affordable and continued white America's trajectory from out of the Great Depression into the middle class. The exclusion of Blacks from the GI Bill through the intentional inclusionary manner in which it was crafted and their inability to get the loans needed to purchase homes, and then if they did get a loan, be denied access to certain neighborhoods, was yet another hurdle in the history of Black America, which has further slowed Black progress and has us here in the present day, where just 44.7% of Blacks own a home compared to 72.4% of our white counterparts. Through the Civil Rights Act and the Fair Housing Act of 1968, the governments at the time, upon listening to activists and civil rights leaders and countless of organizations, enacted legislation to fix previous wrongs that had been done, ensuring that buyers and renters are protected, and not just Black buyers and renters, but anyone of any race, religion, national origin, gender, disability status, or families with children are not discriminated against. When Black people get protections, we all get protections. However, as we see with what has happened with the overturning of Roe v. Wade and, of course, the elimination of DEI at the federal level, the Civil Rights Act and the Fair Housing Act are under threat of losing its ability to enforce anti-discrimination protections, and it will fall upon states to enforce their own standard of anti-discrimination. Our state and our local communities must remain committed to ensuring fair housing for all. I appreciate our local realtors and realtor associations for understanding the importance of fair housing, and that fair housing means healthy, thriving, and livable communities. Whether a homeowner or renter, all people deserve a safe and affordable place to live in a community they want to be in, to establish their presence and build a community. Ensuring fair housing lends to building strong communities.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilmember Streeping.
Thank you. Very quick. Thank you, council members Hamilton, Steiner, and Evans, and thank you, Council President Keppel, for bringing this forward. I support fair housing, anti-discrimination, and housing equity for everyone, and I'm happy to support this resolution.
Thank you. And also note, Councilmember Hamilton Steiner added, as we were working on this resolution, to make sure we call out too that here in Lakewood, that our Lakewood codified ordinances also expand the protected classes to include prohibition of discrimination in housing on the basis of both sexual orientation and gender identity or expression, which should be included everywhere, but is included here in Lakewood. All right, any further discussion? Hearing now, we do have one person signed in to speak on this from our partners at Akron Cleveland Association of Realtors, who actually helped bring this matter to our attention, Campbell Shaw. Welcome up, Campbell. Looks like the mic's on, so you can just go ahead and speak.
Good afternoon. My name is Campbell Shaw. I'm the Advocacy and Communications Coordinator for the Akron Cleveland Association of Realtors. ACAR covers Cuyahoga, Summit, and Portage County, and we represent approximately 6,000 real estate professionals in Northeast Ohio, including those living and working in Lakewood. I'm here today in support of recognizing April as Fair Housing Month in the city of Lakewood. Fair housing is more than a list of do's and don'ts, rights and penalties, and mandatory continuing education for real estate licensees. As stewards of the right to own, use, and transfer private property, fair housing protects our livelihood and business as realtors and depends on a free, open market that embraces equal opportunity. April 2026 marks the 58th anniversary of the Fair Housing Act. We recognize that any progress made stands on the shoulders of generations that preceded us. And again, we encourage Lakewood and all cities to recognize and celebrate the 58th anniversary of Fair Housing Act. Your attention to this matter will further community education and awareness. We also encourage you to keep an eye out for some Metro buses that will have some ads celebrating Fair Housing Month around the city. And we want to take this opportunity to thank Council President Keppel and Council members Angelina Hamilton Steiner and Brian Evans for their leadership and support on housing and sponsoring this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion. We're still on the communication. We have a motion and a second to receive and file that communication. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 13, Resolution 2026-26, a resolution to recognize April 2026 as Fair Housing Month in the city of Lakewood.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 14, communication from Councilmember Evans regarding affordable housing.
Councilmember Evans.
Dear colleagues, as chair of the Housing Planning and Development Committee, I'm starting an initiative to reboot a community conversation around affordable housing. I'll be calling a meeting of the committee on April 27th to have the planning department staff talk us through existing programs and efforts, pain points they have encountered, and plans for the future. This is designed to give council a better understanding of where we are and is a start of an initiative to find out where we can be and how council can help enact meaningful progress on this very serious issue of housing affordability in our community. Thank you, Brian Evans. I'll move to refer this communication to Housing Planning and Development Committee.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Madam President. Thanks, Councilman Evans, for taking this issue in your hands and beginning an ongoing discussion. It dovetails nicely with the Finance Committee discussion we had just prior to this meeting, where we're trying to understand the state of the city's revenue collections and against expenses and see if there's some budget capacity to begin to be responsive to what we're hearing, which is that for many in our community, affordability is under pressure. And something that I think we've all seen is that socioeconomic diversity is the keystone to all forms of diversity in Lakewood. We care about diversity because it's part of our character and who we are, and yet the economy doesn't stand still. The housing market doesn't stand still. So here we are with, you know, a good thing, which is a strong community and housing values, but that has ripple effects throughout our community. And I think this is one way where we can begin to identify tools and strategies where we can do more to, as a city, try to navigate that. We don't control all that much, but we have some levers. And I think also what we can do is probably work steadily over a long period of time. So it's good to be clear about what we might do and begin doing that so we can have some impact over a long period of time. So it's a good conversation. I look forward to participating. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Any further discussion on the motion to refer to Housing Planning and Development? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 15, communication from Vice President Baker regarding resolution honoring the Lakewood High School boys varsity basketball teams.
Vice President Baker.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, I'm introducing the attached resolution to recognize the remarkable accomplishments of the Lakewood High School boys varsity basketball teams over the 2024, 2025, and 2025-2026 seasons. Over this 2-year span, the Rangers achieved a historic milestone by winning back-to-back conference championships for the first time since the early 1960s, and their sustained excellence is reflected not only in their dominant conference record, but also in their defensive performance, individual player honors, and recognition of Coach Alex Kamak as Coach of the Year in both 2024-25 and, typo here, 25-26, as much as he probably doesn't want to be recognized for that. Beyond those wins and accolades, this resolution also highlights the broader impact of the program, strong participation across varsity, junior varsity, and freshman levels, growing engagement in youth basketball, and the continued support from the alumni, families, and the community. And this success is a testament to the culture built by a coaching staff, the dedication of the players, and the strength of Lakewood's basketball tradition. I look forward to council's support in recognizing this outstanding achievement and celebrating the players, coaches, and community members who contributed to this historic run. And here in the crowd is Coach Kamak, Coach Higgs, and Coach Senni, who are on the varsity staff. And then I see Coach Hall, Coach Bentley, and Coach Carney in the back. The program isn't just the varsity and the high school level. It's also youth, so third grade travel on up through 8th. A lot of volunteer nights that people put into it. I was actually the third grade coach, and it may have been more time intensive than council is. So it was a fun October through February. But to see kids grow and love something is just so meaningful. And it is very difficult, switching back to the high school level, to win a conference championship, let alone 2. Coach Kamak and I were on the same team 20-some years ago, and we couldn't even win 1. So it's very difficult, and their accomplishment deserves to be honored with this resolution. So thank you all.
Very well said. Further discussion? Councilmember Streebig.
Thank you. Congratulations, Coach Kamak, assistant coaches, members of Lakewood High School men's basketball team, your families and friends, on your back-to-back team championships and extraordinary individual achievements. I'm a fan of women's basketball, and I was recently in Phoenix for the women's Final Four, where I was reacquainted with a quote from legendary Tennessee head coach Pat Summitt. She said, "My parents taught me a long time ago that you win in life with people, and that's important. Because if you hang with winners, you stand a great chance of being a winner. You all stuck together to achieve your goals, made the required sacrifices, grew and learned a lot, and now have 2 championships and memories that will last a lifetime. Congratulations on all your successes."
Thank you. Councilmember Evans.
Thank you, President Keppel. Congratulations to all the team, the coaches, and it's really exciting to see Lakewood's teams having success at this level. That's not something that happens overnight, with the snap of a finger. It really speaks to the culture that so many are building, like Councilman Baker coaching the younger kids all the way up through. So I really appreciate just so many people in the room who are making that possible and seeing success with our kids. And it's really exciting to see, and it gives the community a great source of pride. So thank you all.
Thank you. Other comments, discussion? Councilman Bullock.
Just briefly, firstly, congrats and excellent work. I've got a 4th grader and 5th grader who just participated in rec league basketball, and the DARE tournament that was at the high school. The fourth grader won the rec league. The fifth grader won as part of Grant Elementary Go Grant, winning the DARE tournament, and his fourth grade brother is going to want to win too, because he's not. So he's going to have the eye of the tiger. So this is good, and Coach Bentley in another sport also is working hard to increase participation. It's good for your health. It's also good for neighborliness, because I'm meeting a ton of people I wouldn't otherwise meet in our community, and it just, you put down roots, and then the roots grow stronger through all this engagement. So I agree with Councilman Baker. The profound joy of enjoying sports and then seeing your kid develop is not to be missed. So keep up the good work, and let's keep dominating.
Thank you. All right, Councilmember Hamilton Steiner.
Not to be outdone by Councilman Bullock. My kiddo was participating in the Purple and Gold Classic, which was amazing. And what I love about sports is the opportunity to bring people together. So you don't have to play sports. You don't even have to like sports. You can just want to be a part of the atmosphere. And the atmosphere that was in that gym Saturday was just amazing, and just the community. And so I appreciate all that you have done, Coach, to bring the team together. And all I can say is, there's going to be some great kids coming up. So be on the lookout.
Thank you. This is actually our last ceremonial resolution for the evening, so we're almost there, guys. And then we'll call everybody up for pictures. But as we've gone through all these, it just strikes me how interconnected a lot of these things are, and that having our strong, diverse community and leaning into this with this the sense of community and togetherness that having sports in our community, all the way from all the different levels, all the volunteers that help in coaching, in the boosters, in the bands, in the cheerleaders, and everything else that goes into it. That all the support staff. It's a whole team effort, and it really is remarkable. And we're really proud of our boys teams for their accomplishment and everyone that helped make it so. So with that, we're still on the communication. We have a motion and a second to receive and file the communication. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 16, Resolution 2026-27, a resolution to recognize the Lakewood High School boys varsity basketball team on its historic two-season run, winning the conference in consecutive years for the first time since the early 1960s and accomplishing many team and individual accolades.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion. I don't have any members of the public signed in to speak. Did anybody want to speak on this? Coach, did you want to say anything? He definitely does not. Okay. All right.
I'll let the record reflect that he asked the Coach of the Year to be removed from the resolution, but I demanded that it stay in, so he's a humble guy.
Yeah, all right. All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes. All right. So we were going to now come down. We'll do these pictures in order. Anyone who would like to be in any of these pictures, you're welcome to come up with us. We'll stand in front here. We'll have a ceremonial copy to present, and then we'll go through in order. So first is Lesbian Visibility Week, then Arab American Heritage Month, then Fair Housing Month, and then basketball.
Sarah, before we go, did anybody want to have public comment for Jean? We may have.
Did we have someone for public comment for Jean? Councilwoman Stubig thought we might have someone for public comment for Lesbian Visibility Week for Jean. Did anyone want to speak? Okay. All right. All right. No. All right.
So you like him?
Even after the speech, huh?
All right, we will reconvene. All right, sorry, just trying to get everybody's attention. All right, let me scare everybody. So if you were here for one of those ceremonials and you want to leave, it's not rude, you're welcome to do so. Out of respect for that we have a lot of young folks signed in and it is a school night, I'm going to, without objection, move public comment forward. We have a lot of folks here to speak to us about handball. So I'm going to take this in order. Hearing no objection to doing that? No? Okay. So I'll take you in order. When I call your name, you can come up to the microphone. We may need some help lowering the microphone. And then it looks like it's already on, so you don't need to push anything. You'll say your name, and if you're comfortable, your address for the record. You address the chair, that's me, and you'll have up to 5 minutes to speak. And so, kicking us off, let's start off with Mr. Vargas.
Hello. Thank you. My name is Cesar Vargas. I live on Daleview Drive, and we're obviously here for handball. As it stands right now, we have a little over 80 players between 6th and 11th grade. And that's projected to grow with every incoming 6th grade class to Harding by at least 20, 25 players. And we need a proper space to continue to grow this perfect lifelong game. We want to expand it into Lakewood more and maybe work with the rec department and possibly the Y in developing a junior and adult league to also be able to hold after school and summer programs. A proper court will allow us to continue to promote this active lifestyle. We also need a proper court to applaud the efforts and countless hours that they put in, into this game by hosting tournaments. Not just local tournaments, but national and international tournaments. And we could do them. I've been to those places. And people travel from all over to come to these tournaments. We could do that in Lakewood. We can showcase the talent that we have and also our awesome city. The United States Handball Association, based in Arizona, the Inner City Handball Association from New York, and the Gaelic Athletic Association from Ireland are all aware of us. I'm hounding them all the time, and they're in total support of what we're doing. And they will continue to support and guide us in developing our handball program in Lakewood and creating sanctioned tournaments that we can host here. What's a proper court look like? It looks identical to the Kaufman Park tennis courts. That same tidy area, that fenced-in space, removing both of those nets and putting up the walls for a handball court will get us 4 handball courts in Lakewood. And that's plenty of space to accommodate the numbers that we have and the numbers that we're projected to have. A space like that, again, supports our numbers. It allows us to expand and host other players. Now, I've done my own independent study, my own independent research, and that's simply walking from my house in Daleview to Kaufman Park and to look at that space. And a lot of times, many times, there were people there, maybe 2, maybe 4, but many, many times that place is empty. I vote to repurpose Kaufman into a handball court for many reasons, What we could do with that space will be bigger than what's going on at that space now. And yeah, there are great things, but we could do something bigger in that space and see the activity increase tenfold, really, I believe. Repurposing a place like Kaufman is cost effective as opposed to building from the ground up. 80% of the work is already done. We just need walls and border lines. At the gem of a park that we have, which is Lakewood Park, there are already pickleball courts. There are already beautiful tennis courts. The apparatus at Kaufman to manipulate the height of the net could easily be relocated over there, allowing us to maybe take over that space. And whatever pushback comes from there could be redirected again over to that space. If for some reason there's no way, I can't imagine why, but if there's no absolute way that that could happen at Kaufman, then thinking about that same space, that same footprint, maybe in another area like, and this is from the ground up build, there's an area in Kaufman by the railroad tracks, between the railroad tracks and the garden that's there. There's a space there that would accommodate a court like that. Or even at Madison Park, there's a space east of the Rust Belt Riders bins where I think it's a holding area for trees that are going to be planted in the city somewhere, I guess. That space would accommodate a handball court. We're going to continue to grow, and we need a proper space. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next up is Wyatt Dietz.
Hello. So, I go to Harding Middle School, and it's hard for me to go in like the morning to handball. So, I was to have like a new one in a different space. So, to accommodate for all the people that, like Mr. Vargas said, are coming in and new people. Because during the summer, there's no outdoor courts in Lakewood to play. So, because all these people in here that play handball like to play somewhere else, and there's not any spots in Lakewood, and there's a lot of open space that could be filled in. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. All right. Next is Charlie Amin.
Hello, my name is Charlie Amin, and I live on Lakeland Avenue. I'm here to support my art teacher and handball organizer, Mr. Vargas. I completely agree with the point that we need more handball courts in the city of Lakewood. If you're not familiar with the sport, handball is a cooperative and multi-generational activity. I've made so many friends through the handball club through my school. I'm currently an 8th grader at Harding Middle School and a member of the handball club. The game is so fun and active, but the one issue is that after I graduate in a few months, and go to Lakewood High School, there aren't any handball courts my friends and I can use to play outside at school. I think it would be a great idea to add some courts around Lakewood for everyone to play. Thank you for your time.
All right. Next is Dante Zeman.
Hello, I am a student at Harding Middle School in 8th grade, and I will be graduating soon. And I go almost every morning to handball club, and I really, really enjoy playing the sport. It's become a really big thing for me throughout my entire middle school career, and I think having an outdoor handball court at an open space, whether it's at a park or somewhere else, I think it just would be very good for the community and the entire city of Lakewood.
Thank you. All right. Next is Evan Van Leer.
Hello, I'm Evan Van Leer. I live on Woodward Avenue, and I play handball at Harding Middle School. And without Mr. Vargas, middle school would have been a lot more boring because I love to play handball. It is extremely fun, and I look forward to whenever we play at recess or at our morning handball club. But the end of the school year is approaching, and when I go into high school, I won't be able to play handball because we don't have any handball courts outside of Harding. And it wouldn't take much, just 1 or 2 courts at a park or someplace else. This would allow me, my friends, and the other people who play handball at Harding to play outside the school. I would appreciate council's help to make this possible. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next is Carson Westfall.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Carson Westfall. I go to Harding Middle School, and I play handball. Handball has, at this point in my life, become basically a part of me. I go every Thursday and Friday morning, and I play all the time during recess. I've been playing handball for over a year now. I'm a dedicated player, but the main problem is I don't have a solid court to play on. A lot of middle schoolers and a group of high schoolers love the game, and I think we can all agree that the Harding court just doesn't work. If we can install a handball court in Lakewood, I can guarantee you that many kids would use and have fun with it. Not only is it hard for us middle schoolers to play, but it's also hard for the high schoolers to play. And since many of my peers and I are going there next year, we will need a solid place to play. I would appreciate council's help to make this possible. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm impressed that you prepared that on your watch. That's very impressive. All right, next is, I am not sure what this says. So starts with a K, Hoffman. Any guesses?
Good evening. My name is Xander Hoffman, and I'm here to talk about handball. Handball is a great sport to play. It keeps you active, and you can play with friends. It's a great game to play when you are just bored or just want to, hit something. One thing I enjoy about handball is definitely that you can just play with, your friends pretty much almost anywhere as long as there's, a wall. But the problem is any wall that we have outside, it's not a very well-kept wall, or the pavement's cracked, so we really need a place to play. A new court could bring interest in younger kids that want to play the game, and then that could help grow the community of handball. A lot of kids also show up in the morning, showing their dedication to the sport, and would definitely be willing to play on an outside court outside of school hours. Thank you.
Next is Peter Humphreys.
My name is Peter Humphreys. I live on West Clifton Boulevard. I'm a junior at Lakewood High School. I started playing handball in middle school, and I remember it just kind of started with us playing during lunch and recess, and Mr. Vargas teaching us a new game that was completely new to us. We had no clue what was going on, but it was a lot of fun to just have a friendly competition during recess and lunch, and then it became going after school and playing with Mr. Vargas on weekends and whenever we could. And I made a lot of new connections with people I wouldn't really talk to if it wasn't for handball. Everyone played, no matter who you were. It was just a really fun spot to play. And a new court would give these players an opportunity to make new connections and compete. And I know this sounds crazy, but I recently joined the lacrosse team. You would not realize how hard it is to find a brick wall to pass off of, and that's a big part of lacrosse. And I play soccer too, and just passing off a wall is a big thing. And I drove around Lakewood for a good hour or 2 hours trying to find a perfect wall, and it's not really a thing, so it could be really multi-purpose and definitely help the city of Lakewood. Thank you.
All right, next is I have Brody Stevens. Were you here for? Yep. Okay, come on up.
I'm Brody Stevens, and I go to Harding Middle School. I think it would be a perfect court to put to Lakewood because the community would thrive, and there's a lot of players that would connect and have fun just playing on the court. But no one always has the place to play because it's only at Harding. So I'd love to have more courts around Lakewood so we could play more often. That's all I have.
Thank you. All right, and last that I have signed in on this issue is Parker Williams.
I grew up in Lakewood, and I live on Northland Avenue, and I go to Harding Middle School, and it's been a very welcoming experience playing handball every morning. And sometimes I can't really make it, and actually that's a lot of times, but it would be nice to have a court outside to play with. And my grandpa actually grew up in Ireland playing, and he has taught me a few things, and it would be a very good experience to be able to connect with the younger people that aren't in middle school and or high school to create a better community. And it would be, as Mr. Vargas said, the Kaufman tennis ball and pickleball courts. There's not many people there all the time, and there's all of those courts down at Lakewood. So I feel like it would just be a good addition to add to Lakewood, and it would connect a lot of youth and high school people together. Thank you.
All right. Did anyone else want to speak about handball? I do see I have other people. Yep, come on up.
Hi, my name is Hank Janko. I live on French Avenue. Handball is something that, I don't know, it's full of a lot of good memories. Some of my favorite memories were going over to the Harding parking lot with my brother and my best friend over there over the summer. More times than I can count, we got kicked out of there because we weren't supposed to be there because Mr. Vargas wasn't there. We spent time looking for places over near LCA. We got kicked out of there. It was really hard to find a spot, and handball was something, it was really important to me. I didn't have a lot of friends. It brought me together with these people that it built a community for us to, I don't know, hang around. It's enriching athletically, it's enriching socially, and having this court would really help a lot of other kids who might be struggling in that, to find a community, to find a space. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else who wanted to speak on handball?
Hello, my name is Miles Scharfeld. I live on Gladys Avenue, and I started playing handball in 6th grade, and ever since then it's been a really big part of my life. I'm a sophomore in high school now, and it's really hard to find times to play now, and it would be amazing to have a new court. Me and my friend Jack, we went to state championships and we won, so there's a lot of skill involved, but it also, the age range of this game is huge. I've seen people way younger than me playing, I've seen people way older than me playing, and nearly all age ranges can benefit from this. And like I said, me and my friend won the state championship together, and we got to go on trips together. We saw the national championship, which was amazing, a great experience. And it would just be super beneficial to have more courts to play at, other than the kind of crappy one at our middle school. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else who had not? Yep, come on up.
Hi, I'm Jack Janko. I live on French Avenue, and like everybody else, I played handball at Harding. It's a great sport. I think one of the most valuable things about it is there's a lot of things you can get out of a sport, physical activity, but one of the biggest things about handball to me is the community. Miles talked about it. We went to the national championships in Toledo, and it was really intimidating as a middle schooler to see all these adults and these pro players that do this for a living. And the second day we were standing there playing on a court, and we saw, I guess you could describe him as the Michael Jordan of handball. He's the best player in the world. And the first thing he did is he saw a bunch of middle schoolers, and he walked up and shook our hands and told us how glad he was that we were there learning the sport that he loved. And that whole weekend, everybody was so kind to us. And I see that starting to happen in Lakewood, that there's no other sport that I can play that there's a community from 6th grade up to 11th grade where everybody can be connected and share something that they love. Obviously, you saw all these 6th graders, 7th graders, 8th graders sitting quiet, being respectful. There's not a lot of things that could have got me to do that when I was in 6th grade, even now. So I think that kind of speaks volumes to what it does and who it unites. And I think it's a great opportunity to have this wall, to be able to build community and to do something that everybody can enjoy and do together. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else who hadn't signed in that wanted to speak on handball? I see Emily. Are you here to speak on this issue or a different issue? Okay. All right. So we'll finish up with this one. I assume so, but I didn't want to skip over in case you were a handball enthusiast as well as everything else. All right. Anybody else that wanted to speak on this? So I'll just say before we go on, it was interesting. Y'all patiently sat through our first 4 ceremonial, but what you saw, I think, with that was just the sort of universalism in the community of Lakewood, of all those different elements. And, I certainly see it here as you were all talking. It also reminds me very much of the advocacy we saw for years, well before I was on council too, from the skating community. Before Lakewood had a skate park, now we're on to phase 2 of the skate park. And it was a lot of advocacy from the community and from the young people themselves coming to council. It is really impactful for us to hear directly from the community and particularly from young people. And you all spoke very well. I know it's not easy to get up necessarily and speak on a microphone, but it really means a lot to us, and we do take it very seriously. It certainly seems to me like that there could be many viable solutions to solving this problem. So I'm certainly interested in working on that. Councilman Bullock.
Thanks, Madam President. I got the feeling of being John Lithgow listening to Kevin Bacon in Footloose. So I think we've got our marching orders. Yeah, you're going to have to look that up in YouTube or something for everybody who just spoke. The parents might be right there with me. I think what drives good park planning, I know this from Director Byington, is parks users. So if we've got a clear group that wants to make significant use of a portion of a park or parks, then that's a good case and a good beginning point. So to me, it's pretty clear that there is. And Mr. Vargas, thank you for your leadership. You've been consistent, but I didn't know that it spanned the ages as much as it did and does, and congrats to the state champs over there. Lakewood's bringing it all over the place. So, I think to me, I'd be happy to join the council president supporting some planning this year to identify where we might expand and keep people active and connected. Thank you.
President Baker?
Yes, nothing warms my heart more than Lakewood students coming, and thank you for spending your evening with us. I'm sure you could be watching the Cavs or doing something, or playing handball, but you can't because it's not available in the parks. Thank you for your advocacy. I'll say that in my day job, I work in parks, and looking around, I think this is going to be a partnership with the schools as well. They have some park space that could be available. It is strange about tennis. I mean, I don't play tennis, but we seem to have lots of tennis courts in Lakewood. There's also one at Webb Park people don't know about behind the gardens. So there is already kind of 2 smaller satellite locations with tennis courts. Don't want to step on Ward 2, but, Coffin Park does have, because part of it's, and we even had the community health needs assessment kind of team came in and talked about how we need to find places for 12 to 16-year-olds be where they're not told to leave every time they're doing something, right? That they're being truants, that they're not being appropriate. Giving them a space in our parks to have a healthy outlet is something we need to be doing as a city, and we need to work with the school on as well. I was just at the high school for Friday Night Baseball. There's 5 tennis courts behind the football stadium too. That maybe take one of those. So I don't know what the cost, and perhaps I'll get with Mr. Vargas on this, to retrofit a tennis court into a handball court. But I do know that the city has funds, and I'm willing to work with my colleagues to appropriate those funds. And I know that groups like Healthy Lakewood and the county's casino funds, other kind of like small grant funds might be able to be a good source to kind of match some of that capital to make it work. Because if we have this many young folks that are looking for an outlet and we don't give it to them, that's shame on us. So we're willing to work with my colleagues to make that happen in administration and the school district. So thank you for coming and spending your night with us.
Thank you. Councilmember Hamilton Steiner.
Thank you, President Keppel. I won't be long. Thank you, Vice President Baker, for your remarks. I do think that it's important that we do listen to the young people. And I know that's something that I hear a lot, that you know, there isn't a lot for them to do in Lakewood where they're welcome at. They sometimes get yelled at when they're at the parks because the equipment that's there is designed for, you know, 11 and under, 10 and under, right? So I think we need to listen to you all, and I hear you, and I appreciate you for coming out here, for getting up here, for speaking your voice, and for speaking your truth and sharing that with us. And I am willing to work with my council colleagues and school board colleagues to make sure that we can get something going for you all.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. And thank you, Mr. Vargas. I think this is the third time that you've been here, if I'm not mistaken. And I think after the first or second time, I was able to have an audience with Kevin Bourne-Crow from the YMCA. And I did mention to him that you are interested. And he said that he thought he could accommodate you. So I would encourage you to call him tomorrow. Very good. And is that going to work out?
They're still working on plans to redo the gym at Y, so I don't know where that's at right now, but yeah, we did.
Okay. Okay, great. And then,
I'm sorry, if I could say.
yeah, sure.
The only thing with that is that we talked about, you know, we appreciate the help of the Y, but a space at the Y also comes with a membership, you know, and a handball court at one of our parks is free.
Right. And I would, you know, without getting into the whole YMCA mission, talk to him about that and about their efforts to include young people, the specific age that you're working with, at little to no cost. So definitely talk to him. And then also,
All right, so, you know, I'd be happy, let's, because public comment's not usually back and forth, so let's, I'd be happy to, and I'm hearing a lot of interest from colleagues too, so we can certainly set up some more meetings and talk about this too. But Councilman Schuler, did you have a further comment?
I just wanted to also say that at the CREC meeting, which I am the liaison to, the Community Recreation and Education Commission, I also brought up your concerns about handball courts. And Leslie Favor did a full review of the entire park system of the city, and I would be interested to hear from her more after you talk with her about possibly converting some of these tennis courts that are around our city. Yeah, I definitely would reach out to her tomorrow as well. Thank you.
I hope she also reviewed the school properties, since she works for the schools. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let me go Evans, then Bixenstein.
Thank you, President Keppel. Yeah, just very quickly, as Ward 2 council person, I think there's 3 viable parks that are in Ward 2 that could accommodate this. So very happy to work with my colleagues on trying to find a way to make this happen. At least one of those spaces. I agree with all my colleagues. Thank you all for being here, for your passion for this. It does make a difference. So thank you. And certainly I will be more than happy to work with you all to find solutions for this. Thanks.
Councilmember Bixenstein.
Thank you, President Keppel. Thank you all for being here this evening. My late grandfather was a diehard daily handball player. I only got to play with him a couple times. I remember one time I brought a racket to play, and I learned very quickly he was a purist, and he explained that racquetball is a very different sport, and handball, a big part of the game is being able to play with your left or your right hand. So anyways, I have a lot of great deal of respect for the game that you all have learned and built community around. I concur with my colleagues that we need more activities in our city for teens, for people who are too old for playgrounds. Not that you can never be too old for playgrounds, but more activities for teens. And as somebody who lives right by Madison Park, you know, I've seen firsthand the concept of taking an underutilized space, and in this case, the old tennis courts at Madison Park, and they were converted back 8 or 9 years ago into a futsal court, you know, kind of a soccer style court. And to this day now, they're currently being renovated, and we're really excited about that. But to this day, you just see every day, you know, dozens upon dozens upon dozens of young people using them. And so I've seen firsthand the power of repurposing and making the best use of space for the benefits of young people, and I'm hopeful we can accomplish that in some form or fashion for you guys as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. We'll follow up. Mr. Vargas, we'll be in contact with you. It sounds like we've got a lot of interest from council. We really appreciate everyone being here tonight, taking time out. When you show up, it really shows us how important it is to you. When you come, it really speaks volumes. So that helps. So thank you for making yourselves heard. I only have one other person signed on for public comment of any kind, I believe, at this time. So I'll go ahead and take her, and then we can come back if anybody else comes for general public comment at the end of the meeting. But while we're paused, we'll go ahead and do that. And so Emily Lindberg, do you want to come up? And then after this, if you are here for this issue, after Emily gives her comment, feel free to go home and watch the Cavs or whatever you need to do.
Good evening. Good evening, President Keppel, members of council. Over the last month or so, we've seen some very pleasant temperatures, and the trees are budding. My lilac is blooming, and the days are getting longer. And, you know, spring is here, and it feels great, which is exactly why I came here to talk about snow. Because when the weather improves, it's easy to forget how difficult this winter actually was. This year, winter arrived early and brought long stretches of extreme cold and more snowfall than we've seen in recent years. Experiencing those conditions highlighted something for me. And that is that our city does an excellent job of maintaining our streets in the winter. We really do. Like, when you compare us to our neighboring municipalities, we are awesome. After every snowfall, all 90 miles of our roadways were eventually cleared and treated with salt. We do that because we understand something fundamental. A transportation network only works when it's connected and reliable. But that realization led me to a question. If we recognize the importance of maintaining our roadway network, why do we accept a very different standard for our sidewalks and designated bikeways? These spaces are also part of the public right-of-way. They are also transportation infrastructure. And yet, in winter, their usability depends almost entirely on individual property owners clearing the snow and ice. Everyone who walked anywhere in Lakewood this winter likely noticed the same thing that I did. A patchwork system where some sidewalks and bikeways were cleared, some were partially cleared, and others remained icy and impassable for days or even weeks at a time. For anyone traveling outside of a car, that means the transportation network breaks down block by block. That matters because not everyone in Lakewood drives. Some non-drivers are school-aged children who rely on walking and biking to access their education because our school district does not provide transportation. Some non-drivers are people with disabilities, and some non-drivers are older adults who used to drive but no longer feel comfortable behind the wheel. When sidewalks and bikeways become unreliable in winter, these residents lose their independence. Trips that should be simple and easy become difficult or impossible. Lakewood takes pride in being a walkable and bikeable city. We promote active transportation, safe routes to school, and environmental sustainability. But if we want walking and biking to function as real transportation and not just recreation, then our pedestrian and bicycle network must be dependable year-round. I recently wrote to the mayor and city council about our winter sidewalk maintenance. I appreciate Councilmember Bullock responding that he and Councilmember Hamilton Steiner are exploring potential options for how to tackle this important accessibility issue. My hope is that this conversation continues, because the issue of Lakewood being walkable and bikeable in winter is not just a matter of the weather. It is the result of the policies and priorities we choose as a city. And those choices are made here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's well timed, because we were talking in Finance Committee before this about how we're actually starting budget for next year in the next few months. So, and those kind of priorities, and every policy decision we make like that also has budget implications. So it's good timing to be thinking about winter as it's hopefully finally ending. So thank you. All right, so does everyone have signed in for public comment? If you would like to stay for the rest of meeting, you are of course very welcome, but feel free to go home if you would like to. Thank you.
Barb's going to stay. Barb's going to stay.
Right, back to the top.
Item 1, report from Finance Committee meeting held today, April 20th, 2026.
President Baker.
Quarter, second quarter, and third quarter. Thank you. Ordinance 2022, 2026, and 2023, 2026. Within that discussion, it was noted that while the first quarter transfers ordinance is typically unique because it's finishing up some carryover and some buyback of stuff that happened in the fourth quarter of the previous year, and then the fourth quarter ordinance is often the one that kind of true ups what we've spent this year, what the revenues are for the year. So it led to a discussion about the overall budget process, some council priorities in the council retreat. And what we discussed with Director Mahoney was that after the August recess, we would put a communication in the docket where we could kind of review where we were at that point in the budget year as we thought about the budget process going forward, although we encourage colleagues to, May, June, July is the time when the budget's formed, but the meeting we'll have in September will really help us understand how big the pie will be. So that'll be really helpful, and then we favorably referred those out of committee to full council. And then resolution 2021, 2022, and 2023, 2026 related to property tax, which every year the city has to put forth an ordinance or a resolution collecting our millage. A lot of great discussion in committee about it, which related to budget and kind of how we, related to the earlier point. So all three of those, and one of the resolutions related to advances that the county gives, which Director Mahoney was notified that the county intends to stop doing that. But we thought it was worth it to pass the resolution anyways in case that the county changes their mind. I don't think they will, but we're all hopeful because cash in our bank account now is better than cash in our bank account in 60 days. But I'm sure that's probably why they're doing what they're doing. So either way, all three resolutions were favorably referred out of committee to council for approval tonight. And on that note, I will receive and file, make a motion to receive and file this oral report.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion.
Madam President, just two quick comments. First of all, nice work by the committee, and thank you to the chair for the time and thoughtfulness with which you convened the discussion. And the other point is thank you, Director Mahoney, for your collegiality and your patience in explaining the fundamentals and the mechanics, which sometimes can get confusing. It's helpful to have that clarity. And then secondly, as council's trying to get our hands around how we express our priorities in various ways, you've been very collegial, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just add, Vice President Baker mentioned about referred back favorably, passage tonight, but the ordinance 22 and 23, they're on, I was going to probably just defer because they're only been second reading. Is there any reason that we should do it?
Unless Director Mahoney says otherwise, I just wanted to refer them out of committee. So if the regular course is to defer again at full council, then I certainly welcome that.
Yeah, it's preferred to have 3 readings for this, especially in case someone from the public wants to make a comment. So
okay, just making sure that there wasn't a reason. Okay, all right. So we have a motion and a second to receive and file the communication. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 2, Ordinance 22, 2026, an ordinance to take effect immediately authorizing the transfer in advance of certain funds.
Move to defer.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 3, Ordinance 23, 2026, an ordinance to take effect immediately authorizing the transfer and advance of certain funds.
Move to defer.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 4, Resolution 2026-21, a resolution to take effect immediately approving the tax budget of the City of Lakewood for the year 2027 and authorizing the filing of the same with the Cuyahoga County Fiscal Officer.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 5, Resolution 2026-22, a resolution to take effect immediately requesting the Cuyahoga County Fiscal Officer to draw and the Cuyahoga County Treasurer to pay to the City of Lakewood in advance of all real personal property and special assessments collected in the year 2027 in such amounts as may be requested and available.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 6, Resolution 2026-23, a resolution to take effect immediately accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the County Fiscal Officer.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 7, Report from Committee of the Whole held March 30th, 2026.
I'm going to actually go to Vice President Baker since he chaired that meeting.
Poor imitation. Committee of the report from March 30th, 2026. Dear colleagues, on Monday, March 30th, the Committee of the Whole met regarding the Madison Avenue and Hilliard Road, Carabel Avenue Safety Analysis Study submitted to Council earlier this year. Due to President Keppel's absence, I served as acting chair of the committee. The study was initiated in 2025 in partnership with Iteris to evaluate engineering and operational alternatives to enhance safety at this location. It was undertaken in response to several high-profile accidents at the intersection in a short period of time, including 1 fatality, as well as existing operational challenges for drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians. The committee was joined by Director Byington, Director Gordon, Assistant Director Boss, and via Zoom, Mr. John Albeck, the traffic engineer from Iteris, who worked on the study. The study proposed a set of 9 short-term recommendations to improve safety at the intersection, some of which have already been implemented, such as adding high-visibility crosswalk marking and green pavement markings for bike lanes. Mr. Albeck and the administration expressed confidence that these recommendations will make an immediate and significant improvements to the safety of the intersection, and implementation of these recommendations will be rolled out this year and will happen in coordination with the previously planned signal timing optimization project. The study also proposed 4 long-term recommendations that were discussed in detail. Because these recommendations require larger investments and additional study, their timelines extend several years into the future. Members of the administration advised on the benefits of taking a sequential approach to the improvements rather than implementing all recommendations at once. Members of council expressed support for both short and long-term recommendations, asked questions, and offered suggestions. The administration shared that Planning Commission and the Case Board were both supportive of the recommendations. I look forward to experiencing the rollout of these recommendations over the next several months and appreciate Iteris and the administration for their work on this. I'll make a motion to receive and file the communication.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion. Thank you, Vice President Baker, for chairing, and thank you to the Planning Department for providing an excellent presentation, and Public Works. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 17, communication from President Keppel regarding recodification of the ordinances.
Dear colleagues, the Lakewood Codified Ordinances is a living document and it continuously updated by City Council. Approximately 3 times per year, new adopted ordinances are batched together and sent to American Legal Publishing to be incorporated into the codified ordinances. The following ordinance authorizes American Legal Publishing to perform one of these routine updates to incorporate all relevant legislation adopted after December 15th. I'll move to receive and file.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 18, Ordinance 24, 2026, an ordinance to take effect immediately to approve the editing and inclusion of certain ordinances as parts of the various component codes of the codified ordinances and to provide for the publication of such new matter.
Move to defer.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 19, communication from Vice President Baker regarding correction to Ordinance 27, 2025 regarding Audit Committee.
Vice President Baker.
Yes, get to it. Technical difficulties for the second time this evening. It's been a long one. Be prepared like Councilperson Streebig with the paper copy.
I'm bringing paper back.
Dunder Mifflin thanks you. Dear colleagues, as you know, as you will recall, Ordinance 27, 2025, we spent a lot of time on, adopted by Council on April 6, 2026, amends Chapter 160 Audit Committee of the Codified Ordinances. After months of discussion in Finance Committee, the final version of the ordinance reassigns the duties of the Audit Committee to City Council's Finance Committee and requires an annual public meeting to review Council's annual audit. Following the adoption of Ordinance 27, 2025, an error in the numbering of the proposed revised code sections was brought to my attention. While this error is minor, it is not insignificant and should be corrected prior to incorporating the new ordinance into our codified ordinances. The following legislation seeks to amend Ordinance 27, 2025 and make this correction. Please consider this for favorable passage as soon as possible. I'll make a motion to receive and file the communication.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 20, Ordinance 27, 2025A, an ordinance to take effect immediately to amend Ordinance 27, 2025, adopted April 6, 2026, to correct an error in the numbering.
I'm going to move to suspend the rules and adopt on first reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Yeah, we can do it. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes. All right, then I will move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Vice President Baker?
Just so the colleagues are aware, you can see if you look on your screens that as it is now, the numbering goes from 160.05 to 06 to 03 to 04. That's wrong. The new version goes 01, 02, 03, 04. So that's the only distinction you'll see there between the two versions, which is why we're seeking passage tonight.
Thank you. And also, passing it tonight allows us to include it in the codification that I mentioned moments ago. So, all right. So we have a motion and a second to adopt. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 21, report from Vice President Baker regarding Lakewood Alive Board of Directors meeting, March 18, 2026.
Vice President Baker.
Dear colleagues, the Lakewood Alive Board of Directors met on March 18th at the Lakewood Public Library for its bi-monthly meeting. I appreciate your patience with my tardy report as I've been traveling the past few weeks. While I was unable to attend due to the aforementioned traveling and other work obligations, I wanted to provide an update during this period of transition. The Lakewood Alive Board of Directors appointed Joe Higgins, who was serving as interim executive director, as executive director. The board conducted an extensive search over the course of about 8 weeks and received over 50 applications. Higgins rose to the top. She joined Lakewood Alive in March 2023 as a small business and events coordinator, where she managed logistics for large-scale community events while building strong relationships with local businesses and owners. Her leadership and dedication quickly led to a promotion as operations manager later that summer. In that role, she guided the organization through several significant milestones, including staff transitions and office relocation, and assuming the role of interim executive director. I look forward to working with her in her new role, and I'm confident she will be very successful in leading the organization. Council members looking to get more involved with and support Lakewood Alive can attend an event or talk to me about joining the committee or participating in a volunteer project. For a full list of Lakewood Alive's upcoming events, please subscribe to their weekly newsletter. I'll make a motion to receive and file that communication.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Councilwoman Striebeck.
Thank you. I'm very excited for Ms. Higgins in this role. I had the opportunity to get to know her through the Downtown Lakewood Business Alliance and found her to be very capable, and I'm very much looking forward to see what she'll do next. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely congratulations to her, and look forward to working with her. Any further discussion? Hearing none, on the motion to receive and file the report, all those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 22, report from Vice President Baker regarding case board meeting, March 24th, 2026.
Vice President Baker.
A lot of reading. Dear colleagues, the case board met on March 24th, 2026 at 10 a.m. in City Hall Council Auditorium for its second meeting. While I was also unable to attend due to work conflicts, I am ready to provide a brief summary of the meeting along with key follow-up items for Council's awareness. The case board reviewed several items of ongoing work, including the shared use path code amendments and the Madison Hilliard safety study. The study highlighted a data-driven approach to improving conditions at a complex, high-traveled intersection with recommendations focused on pedestrian visibility, signal timing improvements, and targeted geometric changes to reduce conflicts and crashes. The case board also continued discussion on proposed amendments to the city's codified ordinances governing shared use paths and mobility devices. Key themes included clarifying definitions, particularly to avoid confusion between mobility devices and other assisted devices, and reconsidering restrictions on adult e-bike and e-scooter on shared use paths. These items remained under active review. In a follow-up communication to the case board, administration staff outlined several priorities ahead of the next meeting, anticipated in late May or early July, including continued refinement of the shared use path code amendments, incorporating the case board feedback and redline revisions, finalization and adoption of case board rules and regulations, particularly regarding agenda setting procedures, and determination of preferred meeting schedule, balancing daytime versus evening options to maximize in-person participation. And overall, the board's work reflected continued focus on advancing multimodal safety, modernizing Lakewood codified ordinances to reflect evolving mobility options, and strengthening internal governance practices. I'll continue to attend these important meetings and report back to City Council so that we and the public can stay informed on the workings of the case board. I'll make a motion to receive and file that communication.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Madam President.
Councilman Bullock.
Thanks for the thoughtful and detailed report, Mr. Baker. A couple quick questions to the administration. Maybe we can talk about it right now, or maybe it's a follow-up discussion. But do we yet know the cadence or the frequency of the case board meetings? I guess I'm looking at the planning director, because I think the planning director has the lead on this. And then secondly, City Council did prioritize an allocation of $210,000 in total for availability to case priorities. I don't expect that that would be something that we've already identified and worked through, but time has a way of speeding by. And so before you know it, if we're not planning to analyze and potentially make use of resources, even if that spending actually occurs late in the year or into the next year, the opportunity slips away. So I'm mindful of that. I'm not on the case board. I haven't attended, but I do try to keep in touch with some of our appointees. So it's a good group, and I'm hopeful that they'll be able to make progress. So that was a long-winded double question. Any thoughts?
Thank you. Through you, President Keppel. So as you know, the ordinance that created the board requires a minimum of 4 times a year, unless there's a necessary action that needs to be taken care of. So that we are having another meeting because we need to have one, but we haven't set anything beyond those minimum of 4. I would assume there'll always be more than 4, but we don't have any sort of other set schedule. And then as far as the budget, we've kind of talked internally a little bit about that allocation, and just there are certain things that, you know, traffic calming, different studies that need to be done, that of course we can use those funds for immediately, but I think that we do need to take a better look at what we can do with that budget yet this year, and I hear what you're saying, and we will be doing that.
Madam President, quick follow-up. So thank you for your good work to engage and support that group. You know what I'm hopeful is that the citizen chair and co-chair would set the schedule. I know that's a tricky dance because there's staffing and staff time involved in supporting and facilitating that work, and those are public meetings, I believe. So there's got to be some intersection between, you know, kind of what the planning staff professionals envision and can prepare for. But ideally, it wouldn't be a situation where the citizen appointees, you know, aren't clear about the schedule, and if they want to initiate something, I hope that we're going to, you know, work with them to give them the runway to do that. That's not to say that the administration wouldn't engage and vet, and I know there's several ex officio members as well. So hopefully it'll be a good partnership. We're just in year 1, so I get it, but you know, I'm hopeful that we can get off to a thoughtful and rapid start.
Yep, and I'll just say, Assistant Director Boss has been thoughtfully. I think all council members have been on receiving, or maybe it was just me, of giving some reports after the meetings, and the agenda for the next one also talks about the frequency and the timing of the meetings and putting that to the group. So hopefully that'll be in the upcoming meeting, discuss some more too. So there's been good reports as well, so that gives us some good information. Yes, Councilwoman Strubig.
Thank you. I don't think I received that, so that might be something, because this is all news to me that they're talking about the bike path, which I'm thrilled to hear about, because there's a lot of my neighbors that are still reaching out to me and asking me about what's going to be allowed on this new path and what's not going to be allowed on this new path. So I'm quite sure that would have stuck out to me if I had seen this before. So any forwarding of this information would be appreciated. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, I can certainly send those on, or we'll ask Assistant Director Boss to send it to all council members too. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to receive and file the report from Vice President Baker, which clearly was helpful. So any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 23, communication from Law Director Vargo regarding Foster Pool and Beck's Pool concession lease.
Director Vargo.
Thank you, dear President Keppel and members of City Council. The city has awarded the food concession lease for Foster Pool and Beck Pool to the Help Foundation, Inc. Help Foundation is a nonprofit entity and the current concession lessee at Foster Pool. Attached, please find the form of agreement negotiated between the city and Help Foundation for your review and approval. Please refer this matter to the appropriate committee for further discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll move to receive and file the communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion. Councilman Bixenstein.
Thank you, President Keppel. I just wanted to commend the administration on this move to both, support an important cause that empowers people with individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, but also by providing concessions at Madison Park, both for people inside the pool and outside. It also has a safety benefit in that you have less youth and young people who will just jaywalk across Madison to the gas station because now they can get their refreshments on site. So thank you very much for this update.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion and a second to receive and file the communication. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 24, Ordinance 25, 2026, an ordinance to take effect immediately authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Help Foundation, Inc. for the operation of food concessions at Lakewood Park and Madison Park, pursuant to Section 15508 of the Codified Ordinances.
I believe this has historically gone to Public Works and Sustainability. All right, so I'll move to refer to Public Works and Sustainability.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye, and that motion passes.
Item 25, communication from Law Director Vargo regarding Lakewood Codified Ordinance 11102, other departmental contracts.
Director Vargo.
Thank you. Dear President Keppel and members of City Council, the attached legislation addresses an inadvertent omission regarding the city's prior amendments to LCO Section 111.02. As you may recall, in December of 2023, Council adopted legislation that amended various sections of Chapter 111, Purchasing and Contracting, to increase the bidding threshold to $75,000. By clerical error, one provision in the chapter, specifically 111.02C, other departmental contracts, that provision did not include the amended language regarding the new bidding threshold. The attached ordinance would update that section and make it consistent with the entirety of the chapter. Because this ordinance only addresses a ministerial item, a typographical error, and does not result in a material change in operations, we ask that you consider adoption of this on first reading. Of course, there is no urgency if you did want to refer it to committee, though. And I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Vargo. I'll first move to receive and file the communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion. I do think it would probably be useful for us to adopt on first reading for the same reason that it can then be included in the codified ordinances. And it doesn't change what we already said we wanted to do. It just changes it correctly in the code. Any discussion? Councilwoman Strubig?
Thank you. I agree. I think a typo here and there isn't something that's going to change how we function, but it's just something that can be corrected immediately. Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, on the motion to receive and file the communication, all those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 26, Ordinance 26, 2026, an ordinance to take effect immediately to amend Section 11102, other departmental contracts of the codified ordinances, to update it for consistency with the current purchasing and contracting ordinances.
I'm going to move to suspend the rules to adopt on first reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Madam President,
Councilman Bullock.
I've got some clarifying questions. I mean, I could do it now or wait for the following motion.
I guess if it would affect your vote on this, then maybe do it now.
Okay, thanks. So, Mr. Vargo, can you just make sure we're all understanding and seeing the change? Is it in subsection C or section C of 1102?
That is correct. Through the Council President, Councilman Bullock, if you refer to section C in the repealed provision, you'll see the amount $7,500. In the new section C, that $7,500 is switched out to $75,000, consistent with the other provisions of the chapter and the intent of the changes made in December of 2023.
Understood. Thank you. And so, as follow on, the effect or impact of that language in that section is applies for just this 111.02 other departmental contracts. So, first of all, what are other departmental contracts? And then, are you saying that well, just tell us how this would operate in the real world, I guess.
Sure.
Before and after.
Just the other departmental contracts, if you look at the entire chapter, which is not laid out here, the first section deals with public works contracts because there's so many of them, streets and et cetera. This is other departmental contracts, a lot of professional services, and every provision in here was increased to $75,000 after deliberation. And just in other departmental contracts in subsection C, for reasons that I can't imagine, we failed to pick up the $7,500 and make it $75,000. Now, it's not operative. That situation, the current provision, speaks of $7,500, but says only if competitive bidding is required pursuant to Chapter 111.04. That is the operative section, and that section makes clear the $75,000 bidding threshold. So it's not a material error, but for consistency, we recommend changing the 7,500 obviously to 75,000.
Okay, so you're saying that the wording without the change points to section 11104, which already has the change?
That is correct, Councilman.
Okay. And the final question I have would be, as I recall, what City Council agreed to, trying to balance efficiency, updating the amounts in the ordinances for inflation, which we were experiencing in those years after COVID, with transparency. So the compromise was that the Finance Department would agree, and the Finance Department has done so, to periodically publish on the docket those expenditures and contract awards that were below $75,000. So would that practice continue for anything that's new here in this change before us tonight? And you may say yes, and it's already being adhered to because this doesn't have a material change. We're just making a clerical consistency edit.
That is correct, Councilman. This change has no impact on the practice of the Finance Department of submitting that monthly report as required by the prior amendment to this ordinance.
But we're going to do that, and we've been doing that already. We're going to comply with the spirit of the transparency reports is kind of what I'm driving at. Is that true going forward even after this change?
Oh, absolutely, okay. Councilman. Okay. The other compromise was Board of Control was triggered at $50,000. And this was, I mean, Councilman Baker and I think Councilman Shackner, we exchanged drafts, numerous drafts over a period of several months, and how the three of us, you know, it takes more than 3 lawyers to screw in a light bulb, obviously. But so everything stays the same. We're just switching that 7,500.
Okay, I appreciate, you know, maybe I'm either being overly detailed or slow, but I appreciate getting the record clarified, so I'm happy to support the motion.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are on the motion to suspend the rules to adopt. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes. And then I'll move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 27, communication from Assistant Law Director Swallow regarding litigation update.
Director Vargo?
Thank you, Council President. Dear members of Council, I am submitting this correspondence to request a Committee of the Whole meeting so that the Law Department can provide Council with an update on pending and imminent court matters involving the City of Lakewood. We recommend that this meeting take place in executive session, and we estimate that it would take about 30 minutes in total. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll move to refer to Committee of the Whole.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 28, liquor permit, Sunday Bird LLC at 15027 Madison Avenue.
I believe we had the report from this, and the Law Department had no statutory reason to object. Both, let the record reflect that Director Vargo and Chief Fisher are both nodding. All right, so unless you have further comment on that. Councilman Evans, this is in your ward. Any comment?
I met with the owner, looking forward to it. Seems like a good concept. No objections.
Okay. So with that, I will move to file with no objection. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes. All right. And we are back to public comment, but unless Ms. Rhodes wants to, no? Okay. All right. So
take your 5 minutes.
All right. Any announcements? Vice President Baker.
You know, even though we just gave a resolution to the basketball team, I would recommend folks in this room or listening to go to Friday Night Baseball at Lakewood High School. We have one of the best baseball teams in the state right now. They are tremendous, and it's just so wonderful to see all the types of people that come and watch high school baseball, which typically doesn't draw a crowd, but they do on Friday nights. I went on Friday with my kids. It was incredible, so just putting a plug for that. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hamilton Steiner.
Thank you, President Keppel. I'm just going to comment again on the Purple and Gold Classic and give thanks to Officer Betts and Officer Jameson, who were there, and the kids loved seeing them. They all rushed up to them and said hi, and so they were very excited, and we appreciate having them there and being a part of the community with the kids and taking time out on their Saturday morning to come out. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, any further announcements from council? Councilwoman Strebig, not to be disappointing.
Just a little calendar update. I don't want the chief to miss out on any of these updates. We did miss one on April 10th was the Day of Silence, and this is a day that students, it's primarily a student Day of Silence in response to, a queer student Day of Silence in response to the silence that they often receive when coming out or starting to talk about their identity. So that they participate in this day by not saying anything. So we missed that on April 10th, but we will not miss that again next year. And the other one for this, well, you all heard about Lesbian Visibility Week, and Earth Day is coming up on the 22nd. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, announcements from the administration? Nope. All right, well, no further business to come before council. We are adjourned.